Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Ömer Tümer, Head of Marketing at Diffblue, and I'm joined by Thomas Given-Wilson, our Head of Engineering. And today we are going to show you a few of the new features that we launched recently. And then we believe that they'll be really helpful when how you think about your test coverage in your Java applications. Um, to begin with, as you might have seen if you've been part of our community before as well, the first quarter, we are constantly benchmarking our solution against the other solutions that are mainly LLM based at this point. We did this study earlier on for GitHub Copilot, but then we also recently did this benchmark study against Claude and Codo. So when we compare cover against GitHub, Claude Code, and Codo, we try to keep the premise of the benchmark study as simple as possible. We chose the same experienced developer, tested all four tools on three different open source Java repositories, and measured the coverage achieved, and then did the developer time required. Of course, it's not always very easy to compare different solutions because they have different processes. And in the case of Diffblue against others, as you might know, and as Thomas will be demonstrating soon, the difference is that Diffblue works autonomously versus for the others, you need to always have a back and forth with the prompting. So what was the core finding? The things that were clear, even in agentic mode that they claim, every LLM-based coding assistant required a constant developer oversight, either in the sense that they need to generate a prompt or inspect the results or reprompting and then manually retrofitting. And also they couldn't run unattended over large code bases. Whereas in the case of Diffblue, it's single command, it's reinforcement based. For those who are not familiar, we are definitely happy to take questions, what it means at the end of the event, but it's working completely autonomously and also unattended. You can just leave, let your computer begin creating unit tests for even a large code base, and then once you come back a few hours later, it will have created those tests. What it means on an annual level, obviously, because, and what do we mean by this 20x more productivity? Obviously, when it's annualized, it means that when you have legacy code base, let's say, of 5, 6, 7 million lines of code, and you really want to increase your code coverage for that, it's really 20x more productive with Diffblue based on this full autonomy that we are bringing to the table. Just to sum up the differences with a little bit more detail, you'll see that what we've tried to do was to lines covered per prompt, completion rate. Here as well, cover has an advantage in the sense that because it's based on reinforcement learning, it's very deterministic and it compiles the moment that we are sure that the test is created. And then in annualized level, it means that we could cover 24.7 million lines of code versus 1.2 or 800K lines that could be covered with Codo. Human intervention required is minimal in the case of Diffblue, and then the new features that we are bringing, in fact, is part of this. We'll talk about the guided coverage, what it means to be able to provide a list of actionable items that needs human intervention. But in the case of LLM-based coding assistants, the human intervention required, and it's in fact nature of the intervention is quite different. And then when it comes to mutation testing, while we try to understand the quality of the test created also, we can say that Diffblue cover was very good together with Claude. Here also Claude has been top performer compared to other solutions that we've benchmarked against. So the breakthrough capabilities that Thomas will be demoing today, what they are. First of all, we are introducing these three new capabilities, ranging from test asset insights to LLM augmented intelligence and guided coverage improvement. But what to keep in mind is that these are not replacing our core reinforcement learning based solution Diffblue cover, but they're really definitely supporting the test generation process end to end. What we mean by that is when it comes to guided coverage improvement, once um, Diffblue cover runs, and then in initial, let's say that you come to a coverage of 52%, but you hit a wall there. And at that point, for those who are also, again, familiar with Diffblue, you would have a bunch of codes. Diffblue cover would output a specific reason why a method couldn't be tested, but the developer previously had to figure out how to recover it. And then these untestable methods blocked processes progress, and then there was a steep learning curve for the manual fixes. And in some cases, this might be hundreds of different codes, and then it was again putting a lot of this required a lot of effort from the development teams. The solution that we came up with was to come up with a workflow that helps development teams to prioritize the issues, auto-generate an AI prompt, leverage your AI coding assistant, and review and apply and rerun. And as a result of this, you would be able to then increase your coverage in some cases from 50 to 70%, even for because at the end of this process, the Blue cover was able to write tests for the previously uncovered methods, significantly increasing overall coverage. The second one is LM augmented intelligence. This one is more about the test data generation. Um, we combine your enterprise approved LLMs with Diffblue's reinforcement learning engine. Once again, this is bring your own model. You connect to the LLM that have already passed your security reviews in your organization. No new approvals are needed, and then the LLM generates the realistic context-aware test inputs for complex business logic. But then once again, once the test data is created, our engine validates everything that the LLM produces. So we are able to maintain our guarantee to for the deterministic generation, high quality tests that always compile and always passes. The LLM enhances our capability without compromising the reliability of our core engine. And then the final one is the test asset insights. Internally, we call this for long time test from tests. In fact, one of the feedback that we received always from our existing users was that they have already existing tests, which is expected in one of the main use cases that we are answering, obviously, being modernization cases. In most of the cases, there's already a test suite that exists. But then there were this separation of tests that were created by Diffblue versus the previously generated tests. At the moment with this feature, now we are learning from your existing tests. We analyze your pre-existing coverage, learn from your patterns, and also you reuse your helper methods and fixtures and build on your domain-specific knowledge, once again resulting in higher quality and more idiomatic test coverage out of the box. At the end, the tests are annotated to distinguish between the user-written and Diffblue contributed tests. This enables a hybrid workflow, whereas our agent maintains coverage as your code evolves. As you know, you might know again for the existing users, but also for the new one, Diffblue works also in your CI pipeline, while your manually crafted tests stay protected from the overrides. So with this distinction, you would be able to mark which tests you want to be kept manual. A quote from our CTO and co-founder, Peter Schrammel. We believe that these capabilities represent a fundamental shift in how you deal with under-tested applications. We've been generating tests faster than most of the solutions, and then it brings a productivity, but now it goes beyond only unit test generation, but also bringing the orchestration of a complete solution. And we are really excited to hear your feedbacks and hopefully for you to go out and try. But before you give it a try for all these features that are already available, I'd like to give the scene to Thomas to really demo these new features that we just went through. Thomas, would you like to take the screen?
Certainly. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So I am going to demonstrate to you our agent. And first of all, I'm going to compare it to Claude Code to show you what Omar showed or gave you slides for initially. And we've picked Claude Code because it was the best of the three other agents that we talked about. So here I have a project. It is this one. It is Terra Teams FinFlink. It's a little financial instrument test project. It's in Java. I have here two copies of it, one in a directory for Diffblue cover, another one in a directory for Claude. I've just built both projects, and I will show you here. I have them also in IntelliJ. This is a Diffblue cover one. I've done the coverage. There are no tests here at all. So no coverage for classes, methods, lines, or branches. And I have another instance over here. This is the Claude Code one, and we can see it also has no tests, no coverage to begin with. So let's get things started. On the left, I'm going to run dcover create. This has kicked our agent off. On the right, I'm going to start Claude Code. And while our agent is running, I'm going to tell Claude Code, write me unit tests. So now both of the agents are going to start kicking off and doing what they can to look at it. So I will talk a bit about Diffblue cover, but I'm going to jump back to Claude whenever it needs me to intervene. So Diffblue cover has detected the Java version, has detected it's a Maven build system, the testing framework is JUnit Jupyter, the compliance level, guaranteed that the validation is enabled and working, and started finding all the classes that need to be tested. There is a warning here. Diffblue cover has only limited support for Apache Flink. Hold on, Claude needs my attention. Yes, don't ask me again for tree commands. Go ahead, Claude. That's 2 prompts on Claude already. So cover doesn't really support Apache Flink, so maybe this is not an ideal project for cover, but it's small, it's within scale, and it's something that we can run on a small demo like this and get results. So cover has found 47 different classes to go through and has started writing tests for them. Some 0, some 1, I'll come back to that. Now let's go and see how Claude is doing. So Claude has failed to read some file, but that's fine. It's discovering the project, found the POM, looking for Java sources, has found a whole lot of those. More finding Java stuff, and now it's started writing unit tests. So saying, now I'll write comprehensive unit tests for your project. Sounds good. Even knows that this is a financial streaming application with JUnit 5 and Mockito already. So looks like Claude knows what it's doing and is getting off to a good start. Very few prompts for Claude so far, covers about 46% of the way through. Claude has produced the first test. I'm not going to look at it because I'm going to check them later. So let's just allow all of these edits like this. I don't want to be prompted for every test file. This would also be a little unfair. I'm happy to let Claude, as an agent, just run off and write tests. So Claude is writing more tests for more classes. If Claude doesn't check these tests for me, I will have to go and validate them later, make sure they compile. And for both agents, I'm not going to do a manual review of all the tests right now. I'm going to wait until they're done, and then I would review them, commit them, do whatever I want to at that point. But there are a few things that I care about rather than looking immediately, like do they compile? Do they pass my coverage gates that I would need to add them to the project? I would probably run mutation scoring, but that can take a little while, so I'm not going to try and do that today in front of you. So cover is 59% of the way through. We can see little numbers of tests being created all the way through, which is sounding hopeful. Claude is slowed down here on some class. I'm not really sure why, but there we go. Claude is ticking along. So far, both agents are giving us a pretty good experience. Claude has asked me for 3 prompts, I think, although I did say just keep on going for all of them. Don't bother me again. Cover has taken 1. But if the end results are great, I would say there's not that much in these 2 here. So now there is a little bit of downtime while I pay the Zoom tax. This is where we ponder what our developers would do with their free time once they had all these tests written for them. So here, I'm still waiting for Claude. Claude is much slower today. It's probably the seminar tax. I'm going to take a drink. So when we did our benchmarking, Claude was the best. Didn't require too many prompts, which is why we chose it. But there were a few limitations we're expecting to turn up. And it's still writing tests. I'm going to have a look what's going on. Yeah, okay, those tests look all right. Cover is 79% of the way through. And now we just have to wait for a minute or 2. I guess at this point, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them because I probably have a minute or so. Claude needs another prompt. Don't ask me for test commands. That's 4 prompts now for Claude. But this is the interesting point. We'll start to see if these tests actually compile. So verifying test runs successfully. That sounds good. Excellent, all tests passing. That's unusual, actually. So great news for Claude today. Making my demo slightly less good, but let us continue. Verifying and running tests successfully. Wrote 70 lines here. Additional tests somewhere else. Cover is at 96%. This could be an interesting race to see who finishes first today. So Claude has apparently found more things to test that it didn't do in the first pass, but that is fine. So Cover has finished writing tests so far, 226 of them. There are some of these output codes that Omar hinted at before. These are areas where Cover says, I'm not going to test your constructors, I can't test the main method, and there's a few things that could probably be fixed. Maybe not sandboxing policy, we wouldn't want to allow disk access, but now Cover is done. So there are some things Cover could do. Claude needs another prompt. Yes, go ahead and run any tests. That's fine. 5 prompts for Claude, I think. While Claude is still running, let's jump over here to IntelliJ. This is the Cover project. Let's run all the tests in IntelliJ. I don't necessarily want to trust that my agent tells the truth all the time. I believe my own agent, but you guys might not. So let's prove it. All the tests are running over there. 226 tests pass. Replace the active suite. 88% class coverage, 95% method, 84% line, and 86% branch. That's pretty good. Claude doesn't need any more help. So if we have a quick look through, there's one here with 0% coverage. Let's have a peek in there just in case. What's this? It's, okay, it's the main method. We're not going to do unit testing of the main method. Otherwise, others are pretty small ones. But out of the box, this is very good coverage. And Claude has now also finished. So let's go and look at the output on Claude's tests. And again, I'm going to run it from somewhere else because I don't always trust my agents. So Claude produced 93 tests and gave me 26% class coverage, 39% method coverage, 27% line, and 20% branch. That's a not great showing even by Claude standards today. Again, we don't care about the apps. This is the same one. It looks like the real loss is somewhere in these. So I'm going to grab one, and I'm not going to look at the details because this is what I should have agents for. I'm going to copy this, go to Claude, write more tests for this. Coverage is too low. This is my 6th prompt, and Claude is going to go off and do some more. But cover is done. 95% method, 84% line, 86% branch, straight out of the box, no more messing around. So that's to validate what we claimed about the agents and comparing them side by side. I'm going to continue messing with Claude on the side there while I show you the new capabilities in cover that Omar was talking about. And I'm going to show these in a different project just to keep my comparison with Claude completely fair. I don't want to go back and start giving cover more time and more advantages. So here is a little feature demo project. This is just to show off the new features, and here I have already run cover once for one part of the project. Like before, detected all the information we need. It's only looking at one thing, created 15 tests, and this is for a tiny slice of network code. So let's make sure the tests compile and look at their coverage. They all compile. Well, cover is always like that. What is coverage for the network receive class, which is what we cared about? 52% line and 30% branch. Not amazing. So this is where we want to show off some of the new features of cover. There's actually one called decover issues. And this is part of the guided coverage improvement. It goes through, looks at the log from the run, and says, where could you fix things? The most important thing this time is the R013. And as explained here, I can rerun with prompts. Failing to copy and paste, so I'll type it. So this will actually output a helpful prompt telling you how to fix this particular issue. And all of these are carefully crafted so that they are totally human readable, but also sometimes you might be a lazy developer. Claude doesn't need any more help, so I'll ignore Claude for now. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to talk to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot, here's something I need fixed. Cover has given a detailed explanation. It should be enough for an agent of your choice to go and do it. I'm not using Claude because Claude is doing something else and I don't want any pollution of that task. So Copilot has created this test factory for me. Copilot says I should rebuild the project. That sounds good. Make sure that Copilot's code works. Copilot has not broken my project. Excellent. Let's go back and create those tests again. In the meantime, I can go and look at what I asked Copilot to do. So I put in a prompt, which is, we are doing unit testing. Create a parameterless factory method for the thing we couldn't set up. So here what happened was Cover struggled to correctly set up some correct configuration for networks. Sorry, just checking on Claude, still doesn't need help, just distracting me from what I'm doing. So there was a factory created. This sets up the buffer, puts an int inside the buffer, sets up the capacity, does a flip on it, which is apparently useful in the setup, and creates a new network receive with this buffer. Cover failed to set this up correctly by itself. But now, just by dropping this prompt in, we've got another agent to help us, and Cover will hopefully demonstrate that we can proceed with this. So to step back, the broader picture here is a lot of people already have an agent or a competent developer, and sometimes they just need a little bit of help to get the next step of coverage. And here we already had about 50% coverage. We can increase it by allowing testability of the network receive method by setting up some objects correctly in a way Cover couldn't manage it. So we asked our agent to do it. It's just copy and paste the text across. And then we reran cover. Before we had 15 tests, now we've got up to 21. No more scary looking output codes. Check on Claude. Claude is fine. So let's run these tests now and see if that has helped. Tests are running. 1 test passed, 10, 21 tests passed. We'll pass and compile, as we always do. And there we go, 70% line coverage and 50% branch coverage. I didn't have to understand this code. I didn't have to be an expert. I could have been doing a legacy application upgrade. And as long as I had a useful agent or enough skill to action this prompt, I just unlocked about 20% more coverage on this project. Claude is fine, does not need my help here. So this is what we're calling guided coverage improvement. For now, we have kept a human in the loop because we work with many large customers who would not allow us to just instantly go and call their agents, but we are working on automating this. So expect that to come soon. This version, where you can just copy and paste or you can write the script yourself, is available right now. So that's the guided coverage improvement. But we have another one where we can take advantage of your business logic if you already have an LLM with this built in. Let me check on Claude. Claude is busy. So here we have some tests that were written before. This is testing a bit of code to extract standards references. I'm not sure exactly which standards they care about. Cover has looked at the code and said, there's something regexy for numbers. There's something regexy for strings. I think we'd all agree this is not a very meaningful looking string, and asserting the result is empty is not a great test. Well, maybe you actually have access to an LLM that you're willing to allow tools to look at. So here is how I'm going to configure cover. And I'm showing you a template. I'll explain why in a second. So I'm going to say for strings, go out and use something called ChatGPT. Here, ChatGPT is provided by OpenAI. The model is GPT-4, and I'm showing you a template because I need a real API access key here, and I don't want to put mine in a public recording. You can also specify a URL. So this means you can point to your on-site LLM, on-site API, and this means you can take advantage of ones that know your business logic, have access to your domain rules and your properties, and are trained on your data. So they can do much better than open and generic ones can. So now I am going to point cover this. I'm going to say create tests for the standards text. Put verbose output here. I'm going to take a sip of a drink because I'm having trouble speaking. Go. So what's going to happen is here we are going to connect to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is going to be able to help us with the input text for this string. So here we can see we have hit the ChatGPT configuration, and we've gone off and started calling this for text. And actually, I skipped a step, so this is not going to do what I wanted. Apologies. Let me go through and fix it. I forgot in here to configure this. So I'm going to run this command again, sorry. So what I did here was I put an annotation in. And I said, when you get to the extract standard references, go out and call the LLM. This will say, when you need inputs for this particular method, and only strings, because that's what I configured before, go out and use the LLM to get useful strings for standards. Here, as before, it's going out to get those strings. I'm going to check, minimize that, and see if Claude needs help. Claude is done. Excellent. So I will go back and look at Claude's results later, but I'll finish this little bit of the demo first. We go back here. Tests have been removed because Diffblue cover is recreating them. 5 tests have been created. These are being validated to make sure that they will all compile and pass. Now we have new tests here, and we can see This is not any company's specific information, but the LLM has said, this is a standard reference. There is a standard like ISO 9001-2015 in here. And if we go down, now we start to assert on the actual properties we get out of this standard. So we get the identifier, we get the organization, we are starting to assert on real business logic values. And this was all taking advantage of an LLM API for generating this business information. So in this case, it can be your on-premise one. You can train it with your specific rules, and this will allow you to unlock any logic you want, or you can use a public one, which will help for public common things. I'm going to leave Claude till the end, because while I'm here, I want to show you the last one, which is the test asset intelligence. So this is in this little section here. So first of all, I'm just going to run coverage for book service test. Notice there is no Diffblue in the name for book service test, and I will show you the book service test. Coverage-wise, we have 28% coverage. We're only looking at book service, the others are just around it, and 0% branch. So not very good. And this is an example of a tiny little local test that just actions one bit of one method. It has a bit of setup, and this simulates the tests that were already on a project. For example, some legacy application or written by developers already. Then I ran cover, and cover wrote its own separate tests called book service Diffblue test. I'm going to run those. They will compile as always, but here I'm not going to replace the active suite, I'm going to add to the active suites. And this is simulating that you have your manual tests, you have tests written by Diffblue cover, and they live side by side. Together, they give us 50% line and 10% branch coverage. So the two of them together have improved things. But what we have now is the ability to, as we say here, merge these together. So I'm going to run this command, and I want to be clear. Everything in this command is the alpha version. You can try this now, but there will possibly be bugs. It is not fully released, so play with it, but understand that it may not be as perfect as in this demo on larger code bases. So here, create tests for the book service, and merge means put any new tests into the existing test setup, so the book service test here, and also what we can do is take advantage of what's already there. So here there is already a before each setup and some private methods which are going to be properly configured. So now Diffblue cover will be able to go in and take advantage of these and should write more and better tests than operating completely independently of what's already there. Diffblue cover is finished, and in a second, after all the tests have been validated, this file will be updated, and then we'll be able to see the advantage of merging your tests. There we go, a whole lot more setup, some more and better looking tests in here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Let us run the coverage and see what it looks like now. So here's coverage for book service test. All the tests compile and pass, including the original one. And I'm going to replace, so I'm ignoring the separate Diffblue tests. And now we're up to 71% line and 20% branch coverage. So just by taking advantage of the tests that are already there, we've gained more line coverage and more branch coverage than Diffblue running independently by itself. So these three features, all of them allow you to advance in your coverage faster. They can take advantage of any other agents you have around and show that we can collaborate with these agents. It's not a direct competition, despite what I'm showing you with Claude, because we are experts in one area. These agents can help us in others, and we can help them by testing their code and going from there. Let's go back and finally look at the Claude results after a further prompt. So here we are back in Claude 1. Let us run all and look at the coverage. And this has been double the runtime of where we were before, maybe more. It's had about 6 prompts, and we still have only 40% line and 42% branch coverage. So here, it's distracted me throughout the presentation. It's required a bit of prompting. I've had to constantly babysit it, even though this is the best of the agents. It doesn't require me operating on it all the time. And twice the time, totally distracted, half the coverage or less. So this is how we compare to what the best on the market is. And you can imagine how this goes to scale. We can roll out both of these on very large projects. Diffblue cover suffers no degradation. Claude, things slip out of the context window. You start having to set up agents that run workflows, and it just degrades from there. That is all I'm going to show you for the demos. I'm very happy to answer questions on them later. Let us go back to the slides and talk about the bigger picture of where we are. This is what it looks like for most of our customers who come to us. They have a compliance deadline approaching. They need code coverage gates, 80% coverage. They need to upgrade legacy applications. They need to go onto Adobe Cloud and need coverage gates for that. They have to do it by some particular time, and their developers are overwhelmed. They have huge amounts of untested code. Often they've never seen or worked with this code before, but they have to get it running. They're stuck at some coverage level. If they're lucky at 60%, we have people come to us with 5% coverage saying, I need it to be 60% by next month to get it on Adobe Cloud. So lots of people turn to coding assistants. They are good at some kind of coding. They can help. You've seen today, even the best ones, they require oversight. There are a lot of distraction. They're playing around. Even with the developer sitting there, they're not getting you to that coverage gate quickly. And also, who knows what the token cost is? It can just explode and keep on going and going and going. I asked for a little bit more coverage. I don't remember what I got, maybe 10% for double or triple my runtime. And if you're a large organization, you're rolling this out to millions of lines of code, thousands of developers, you have no idea what it's going to cost until you hit the reality, and it can be very expensive. So what do we offer? Why am I pitching Diffblue cover here? It's a single command. It just runs and does everything, your whole project. You can spend more time, but as I demoed today, you may not need to. We have a 100% compilation guarantee. You don't have to go back and look at the tests again. You don't have to check them. You don't have to get your agent to check them. They will just work out of the box. We are entirely autonomous at scale. You saw today, one command, entire project, walk away. And this works for all sides of project. Sometimes a little more setup, maybe an hour, but this is the next point, systemic path to coverage gates. Use our guided coverage improvement, set up specific steps. It's very easy to get that next step, and it's always linear improvement. We know where you're going to go. There's none of this throw 10,000 tokens at it and get nothing, or maybe if you're unlucky, go backwards, because you're never sure what will come out of an LLM agent. And we offer fixed enterprise pricing. You know how much it's going to cost upfront, no scary bits later, no unexpected costs. So we believe this represents a fundamental shift in how enterprises can deal with undertested applications, with legacy upgrades, with just keeping up to date with their gates, or even testing new code written by agents that we don't know what they're going to do. You can go from manual iterations, even with agents, hand-holding them back and forth, to fully autonomous transformations. Just run an agent at your project, get it done with Diffblue cover. If it's a big project, overnight, come back the next day. Small project, have coffee, talk to someone else in your webinar. So Diffblue cover is immediately available. Everything I showed you, start today, get a trial, run it yourself, talk to our customer success or salespeople, set up a proof of value. We can run on your code base, prove that it works in practice on the code that you care about, not some open source project, not something out there, and deploy at scale. We have customers who use us for millions of lines of code at once. And they have fixed pricing. They pay it once and they know exactly what they've got. So the evidence is clear. 20 times productivity advantage. I haven't demonstrated the true value of the guided coverage improvement as an example, but our internal testing is we can get an absolute 30% coverage jump on low coverage projects in 1 hour of using it. Just a couple of prompts, 1 hour playing around, 30% more coverage. And as always, our tests will always compile. They will always pass. No messing around, no review, no faffing around to fight your agent to get it to work. So get started today. Scan the QR code, visit our website, contact us. Be very happy to hear from you.
Right. Thank you very much, Thomas. Any questions from the audience so far? Maybe we give a minute or so. And if not, it was a great demo, and then we'll be really happy to meet everyone who would like to talk about and their unit test generation needs, their modernization needs, and then also provide a POV proof of value once requested. The deck and the recording of the uh, demo will be shared also with the audience later tomorrow. So unless there are any other questions, thank you very much and have a nice evening. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.